Hello everyone, my name is Deepa Joseph and today I'll be taking one of the most important chapter while we were dealing with the theory of alienation, and that is the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Before jumping to the topic of metamorphosis, I would like to just give you a revision of what alienation and isolation is. So this particular theme arose in after the World War II that has happened, and there were many postmodernist writers and authors evolving around who dealt with the trauma and the depression that was happening because of the mass killing that happened during the World War I, and many people lost their life because of that. So yes, and Franz Kafka was one of the major pioneer of this era. Him being a depressed kid, his whole of his the writings and the books that he had written and the novellas that he has given us out, all of them deal with the theory of isolation, alienation, existential crisis that we have happening, where he says that what is the meaning of our life when we have to die one day? Why do we have to live? Why do we have to be happy? So he deals with all these things that we as a human being think that these are very important for us, and he deals with all these themes in a very mundane technique, with a very mundane technique. So yes, let's start with the metamorphosis itself, and we'll also deal with Franz Kafka as an individual. So starting with Franz Kafka, he was born in the year 1883 in Prague, which is nowadays known as Czech Republic, is situated in the border of Germany and is primarily in the Central Europe. And you can see, because the borderline is Germany, that's why he was very much proficient with the language of German. So most of his works he has written in German language itself. So he used to speak and write in German. He had a doctorate in the law, and also worked in many insurance companies, though he didn't like that he used to work in all these companies because of his interest in literature and in the art and he was a very beautiful artist. So that's why he never liked working in a corporate sector, but then because of the situations that he was dealing with, he had to work being a lawyer and being an advocate and working in a corporate sector in an insurance firm. Moving on to the other things, Franz Kafka's writing, obviously, as I said before, dealt with the loneliness and the isolation and the alienation, and therefore following the depression and the suicidal tendencies that human beings used to have, looking at the situation because of the societal pressure, because of the familial pressure that they had, all aggravated by the social and economic system and the structures of the human relations. I'll just write over here the theme, that is existential crisis, because this is one of the primary theme that will be dealing with the story or the novella Metamorphosis and the protagonist itself. When you will know about the protagonist, you will know that okay, he has that he has the isolation theme very much in him, and then we'll also give a parallel to this character to Franz Kafka itself. Yes, moving forward, his style is stark. He uses mundane elements as absurd of the strange subject matter. In most of his work, there is no poetic or metaphoric language. Poetic and metaphoric language was one of the greatest theme of the classical authors that we have. You will find that neoclassicism, the romantics, they all had a beautiful type of language, and whenever you will read their text, you will feel as if music is blurting out. But not the case with the postmoderns. They were very realistic, and they were very much into showing things as it was, not like the artists who used to use their language to ornate their whole text. So Franz Kafka never used to do that. This poetic and metaphoric language was one of the qualities of the classical writers, but then it stopped evolving in postmoderns, in the postmoderns writers itself. Now, coming to the text Metamorphosis, it's a novella by the way. It was published in the year 1912, sorry, written in the year 1912, but yeah, eventually got published in 1915. Okay, one thing that you will very much notice in Franz Kafka is he was a man of self-doubt, and because of that 90% of his work he just burnt all of them, just because of the fact that he thought that what will people think while they are reading his work. So he was that kind of man, and that's why there were many works that got published after he died, where he told his friend that after my death please burn my text and all, but then his friends never agreed to that. So just after Franz Kafka's death, his friends published it, and that's why we have Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis, which is one of the most famous novella which is existing during the postmoderns. Yes. Next, let's move to the Metamorphosis itself. So, metamorphosis is a biological term, and that he used in his novella. So, this biological term just means that, you know, when a particular insect or a particular animal is changing its bodily form into another, just like you can take a simple example of a butterfly, which a caterpillar which transforms itself into a butterfly is known as metamorphosis, where a whole of the body is changing itself, just like we humans evolved from the so-called the monkeys, and then, you know, just moving forward and becoming a human being. That's a slow metamorphosis happening. Just like that, we will also see that Franz Kafka is dealing with his protagonist, and this protagonist is going into a sudden metamorphosis that you will see, you know, waking up on the bed and looking at himself in the mirror, and you see that, you know, I have changed myself into an insect. So yes, so metamorphosis is a biological process where an animal's bodily structure changes significantly after birth or hatching, just like how a caterpillar changes itself into a butterfly. It's a Greek word which means that transformation and form respectively. Metamorphosis, written by Franz Kafka, is a novella. Mind you, it's not a novel, it's a novella, which means it is a bit bigger than a short story, but then yeah, it's shorter than a novel itself. It's not as long as a novel. Now, let's talk about the setting. The setting of this whole novella is also Prague, which is the birthplace of Franz Kafka, and it is also said that Franz Kafka was writing this particular novella while he was working in an insurance company, where he was very distressed because of the working hours, because of the workload that he was given, and he was not able to focus on his literary part and literary lifestyles. So yes, while working in the insurance company, he wrote this Metamorphosis. So you will see a very stark similarity between the protagonist as well as Franz Kafka itself. So moving on to the setting, as I told you, the setting is based on the Prague. The protagonist of the story is Gregor Samsa. I'll repeat, the name of the protagonist is Gregor Samsa, who is the only son of the middle class parents in Prague. They lived in a very small apartment which had only 2 rooms, a kitchen. So you can see they were not of an average middle class, but yeah, a lower middle class family. Gregor's father, because he was in a very huge debt for the last 7 years, he lost all of his money, and because of the fact that Gregor had to work more so that he can support his family. So his family included his father, his mother and his sister, and one of the strange things that you'll observe is you will never get to know the name of his father and mother. His father and mother are always termed as his Gregor's father, Gregor's mother, and not someone else. They are not given any name. They don't have an identity in the novella. But one more person has an identity, and that is his sister. His sister's name is Great, because Gregor as a brother used to love his sister a lot, and that's why I guess Franz Kafka wanted to name and to identify his sister as Great. Also, there is a similarity that Franz Kafka, while he was alive, he used to love his sisters a lot, and he went into more depression because of the fact that he lost his sister. For the Jews and the Nazis happening, his sister died in the concentration camp because of Hitler. So because of that, Franz Kafka was in utter depression, and after that he made a human being through his novella Metamorphosis, and named the sister as Great, which is also a symbolic figure. Yes. So as a result, coming back to Gregor's metamorphosis, coming back to Gregor, we see that Gregor also works in an insurance company as a traveling salesman, which is a tiring job to support his family. As I told you that his father wasn't dead, so he had to work. When the story began, you will see that Gregor is thinking upon some other beautiful jobs that he wanted to do, but he couldn't do it because of the familial and the monetary pressure that he has. He has to support his family with money. So because of that, he was not able to follow his dream, his passion. But yes, he was dreaming. Like Franz Kafka wanted us to show that Gregor Samsa was dreaming of some of the particular dream that he wanted to do in his life, but he was not able to do. Now, moving on to the beginning, which is very important of the fact, because the beginning itself of the metamorphosis shows us the start of the absurdism, the start of the strangeness that you will feel that only Kafka can deal with. One of the major important theme of Kafka, or the style that Kafka uses, is he uses, or he puts rather, strange elements in the very mundane and normal things that we can see. So I'll just read the starting lines of the novella. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dream, he found himself transformed in his bed into a giant vermin. This picture that I have given you is one of the illustration of this particular line. So you can see a vermin, or something which is in simple language is a cockroach, lying on the bed, and this is our protagonist Gregor Samsa. So you see, while Gregor Samsa was sleeping, he felt something uneasy happening to him. He awoke and he saw that he has transformed himself into a vermin. Now, you will see that once again Kafka's way of showing absurd element in mundane things is very important over here. You see, he has very lightly said that Gregor Samsa awoke one morning, just like us, just like you, from an uneasy dream. We all have an uneasy dream which we call as a nightmare, and he found himself transformed in his bed into a giant vermin, which is strange for us but not for Gregor Samsa, because when he found himself transformed into, or metamorphosized into, a giant vermin, he is very acting very normal, as if, okay, I have transformed into a giant vermin, no problem, I'll get to be a human being tomorrow. So for him it's a very normal thing. Gregor is very calm and accepting of his transformation and doesn't show any horror or disgust. This suggests that his transformation is a manifestation of his unhappiness, his work. It's just like so many bad things has happened to me. I'm working in an insurance company. I'm doing things that I don't like. Then now I have transformed into a giant insect. What's bad in that? I mean, I'm very okay with it. So you can see for Gregor, it's a very normal thing happening to him. The text doesn't specify what Gregor has turned into, but the description matches a cockroach's image. So yes, we'll just go with a simple language that he has transformed into a cockroach. But yes, according to the text, it's a vermin. So let's deal with the concept of vermin. So vermin can either be defined as a parasite feeding of the living. So you see the cockroaches eat the dead things. So it's just like how it's symbolic of how Gregor's family is feeding unto him. So Gregor is the only earning person in his family, and that's why he had to feed his family with food. He has to bring food on the table. So yes, you can see just like how a vermin eats dead things, symbolic of Gregor's family eating of Gregor's money. Or vermin is a vulnerable entity that scurries over. Scurries means runs over, runs away. That runs away upon another's approach, as Gregor does for most of the narrative after his transformation. So after the metamorphosis happening, Gregor just hides inside his bed or hides inside the room, and he doesn't want to meet anyone. So once again, the theme of alienation and isolation coming along. Yes. So we'll move forward now. Next, let's talk about Gregor's family. So we learn much more about Gregor's parent and sister, whose name is Great. and their response to the transformed situations in their household. We experience all of this through Gregor's perspective. So while Gregor was hiding himself inside his room, inside the bed, or going inside the bed and all, we see that how Gregor's family is talking about him. At first you will see that there is some emotional connection happening between his sister and the mother, who are very concerned that why has Gregor changed himself into an insect and all. But slowly and gradually you will see that Gregor's parents and his sister are fed up with the Gregor's taking care of Gregor as an insect, or fed up with how they always have to hide him because of the transformation that is happening. And slowly and gradually his father and mother are also thinking of killing him. So you see that Gregor always wanted to be freed from the social norms and the social regularities that it is happening, but unfortunately the only way that Gregor can get freedom from this brutal life is to die. So this death will eventually come upon Gregor, and he will be freed, as also his family will be freed because of his death. We experience all of this from Gregor's perspective, and we see that how his family is thinking about him. Gregor's family eventually feels that they would be better off without him. This is very important, where once again gradually you will see that his family is thinking that now let's kill him so that we can live a happy life. The story ends with the family going on without Gregor, because now Gregor becomes a kind of responsibility upon them, because he is now no more earning, because he has transformed into an insect, and he is now no more bringing money to them. So because he is not satisfying their financial burden, so yes, they thought of killing him so that they can also be freed from this. So this was in whole a short summary, a brief summary of Metamorphosis, dealing mostly about the alienation and the isolation. But one of the most important thing that we have to learn today is the parallels happening between Gregor Samsa and Kafka itself, Franz Kafka itself. So let's look at the parallels happening. First and foremost is the relationship with his father. Gregor Samsa in Metamorphosis, you will see that he never had a good relation with his father, which is very similar to how Franz Kafka never had a good relation. He always had a strained relation with his father, where he also used to write hundreds of letters to his father, saying that because of his dominant nature, he always feel left out from his father, and as a son he always needed the love of his father, but he never got that. He used to write too many letters to his friends, to his sisters, to his mother, saying that I want the love of my father, but I'm not getting it. Next is he is trapped in a world he felt that he didn't belong, once again because of the job that he was, and once again because his sisters were not there. I told you before that his sisters died in the concentration camp, because being a Jew, it was according to Hitler, it was not a good thing to be alive. As a Jew, they had to lose their life, but Franz Kafka was left over there, so he mourned the death of his sisters. Next is the similar names, that is Kafka and Samsa. Both of them are rhyming. Gregor Samsa and Kafka. The name Samsa comes from the Greek word and also the Czech word, which says Sam means alone and Sem means I am, and together if we keep, which means I am alone. And one of the stark element that is happening, where Kafka through Gregor is screaming loudly to the people, to the audience, that I am alone, I want to be freed, I want to be dead. And that's what the thing that is happening, and eventually the protagonist dies. And next is both of them had a job that they never liked, they didn't enjoy it. Both of them had something else in their mind, but they couldn't pursue their passion, and they couldn't pursue their willingness and the things that they wanted to pursue in their life. And the last slide and the last thing that I want to say today is some of the Franz Kafka's quote. So one of them I'll just share to you, and that is, I cannot make you understand. I cannot make anyone understand what is happening inside me. I cannot even explain it to myself. And this is the theme that you will see in Gregor Samsa alone. This particular quote is very much, applied in for explaining Gregor Samsa's personality, and you can see that how Kafka and Gregor were very similar characters, and through Gregor, Kafka was wanted us to understand him, understand his plight, understand his feelings, and understand his emotions itself. So with this, we are done with the Metamorphosis, with the themes of Metamorphosis. I would really appreciate if you can go and read the novella Metamorphosis, because it is very beautiful, it is very intense, and if you just give it a read, you will feel the depression and the stress that Kafka was going through, and he wanted his audience to understand him, to understand the feeling. So yes, leaving you on an open-ended note so that you can give your analysis, you can give your thoughts on this. Thank you.